So I have this very good friend of mine visiting from Germany for the last couple of days, and he's doing very well. He has a small company in Germany. He's producing electricity to wind turbines, and we spoke about how shitty the dating market is. I don't know what this is in Europe, but he said it's very, very bad. And he kind of basically asked me what's the best approach right now, because he's a business owner. He's looking through the perspective of business owner on the personal life as well. He said how we can actually hedge the market, how we can actually spread your bets and not being left alone in the end. And we had discussions, how his closest circle of friends got girlfriends or wives. The thing that we kind of agreed is that if you don't have, I would say, this might sound crazy, but I would say if you don't have like $100 million, stuck up, not talking about net worth, I'm talking about $100 million sitting somewhere doing nothing. You have them for plan B if things don't work out, if your business stops working, if, let's say there's a fucking, nuclear war in your farmland, cannot sell the produce that is producing. Let's say you cannot sell the weapons, or you have private army, you cannot sell the service of your private army because the war is like on completely different level, whereas the different weapons are used, right? All this, you can export your tobacco, all these businesses that on the first look appear to be forever. Just think about if you have a business with export like tobacco, right? You will think that business is forever. If you export liquor or produce liquor, you think business is forever. All the people with private armies, or machine producing all the weaponry, you will think that this is going to be the business forever, but that's not really how it works. Because if you really think twice, if the actual sentiment on the war changes, the business is not going to work. So we kind of agreed upon the $100 million to be the financial cushion that you should have aside from your business, aside from your assets or investments on the side. If you have $100 million, then you can basically go and waste your time on dating, waste your time on really trying to curate wife or girlfriend. Again, I'm not excluding, having, sexual contact or, one-night stands, whatever. But because entering into the dating world, it's a wasteland, if you really think about all the people who are actually doing so are super, super irresponsible, because you're trading your time for absolutely zero output. It's like you're trading your financial resources, your financial time that could be converted into financial resources for the least probability output, the least probability of return on investment. If you just think about this, right? That's why we agreed on $100 million that you can basically not do anything else but, just try to find your perfect wife or build the perfect family or focus on whatever. You want to build a legacy? You want to build a fucking Duck Dynasty type of shit, right? You can. But if you don't have $100 million, don't waste your time. And that's equally important, and I believe true if you're a woman as well. If you're a woman who wants to make a lot of money, why would you focus on getting men? If you're a man, why would you focus on women? That's pointless in the grand scheme of things. Because if you look back in 2019, when everyone's kind of buying, these stupid pre-owned vehicles, and they're paying like 40-50% above market value for pre-owned vehicle, and the smart geeks, you're computing, if you just put this in your retirement account, after 20, 35, 40 years, how much it will cost. So this again proves the point that the 40 to 50,000, if you do the right computation, if you do the 10, 15 to 12, maybe on average, your $25,000, $30,000 pre-owned car will be, equivalent to 60, 65, 70,000, which it's a substantial difference compared to the original net value of the position, right? So that's why I'm trying to explain that if you don't really sit on $100 million, you really waste your time on this particular element of the social life. Because social life is mostly fake. I don't know where you are from watching this film, But in New York, honestly, I haven't met a single person that is legit. Everyone is doing some schemes, scamming, whatever, friends, family, the world. It's all legit people. So this basically indicates something very interesting. Exchanging very particular precious time that you can, inject into a business, having greater ROI. And nothing to, I cannot imagine looking back, and you look and say, oh my gosh, why did I spend 6 years building my $100 million business and feel bad about it? But I can maybe not only look back, but I can point out some people that definitely can look back and be, oh, shit, why did they just go to, why did this, why did... Because you know how stupid this is? This is basically, most of these relationships are going to zero. They're like these fake crypto coins, they go to zero. And this is not exaggeration. Think about how many actual relationships, people who spend years together, they want vacations, they purchase houses, and then they divorce, and everything go bust. Neither of them remember what actually happened. They spent 5-6 years, and they don't remember what happened. Imagine everything evaporates the second you actually, split. So I believe relationship or social life or personal life, it's not an investment. It's a complete waste of time. That's why I call them that if you don't have $100 million to enter the wasteland. Maybe I should put this title. Should read, if you don't have $100 million, don't enter the wasteland of relationships, something like this. Because it's true. I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that you don't really get to benefit more of spending more time on, resources, all this nonsense. And the numbers read correctly. Look at Jeffrey Bezos lost what? Half his net worth over some bimbo, right? His ex-wife. Imagine losing $50 billion. Just because. Also, imagine if he actually focused 100% on Amazon from the get-go. No time family, no time other nonsense. He was so successful with the family. Imagine how successful he would have been even without the family and other nonsense. We can just speculate, right? I want you to remember this. This is very, very not logical. But again, if you come down and think through deeply, you understand that that's the only way to do it. Having a lot of money, detached from the real network, and then you can do whatever you want. Then you can spend the rest, 10 years just fucking dating. You can travel around the world. You just pick some woman that actually deserves your attention. And you can spend months testing her loyalty, her capabilities, her knowledge, her common sense. We all know how women lack common sense, right?